Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous and fun-filled episode of Production Tips. This is Ben Schultz, also known to the music-making world as The Fledgling, and we are in part 6 of 7 in the Deer in the Headlights tutorial series. If you haven't already, please go take a look and listen to parts 1 through 5, or if you're feeling adventurous and crazy and just a bit wild, you're welcome to jump in right here, right now. We're happy to have you. Take a seat. We now have chairs on the back wall. We might give you a donut if you're good, and so forth. So, today we're going to go into mixing, and since this is such a broad category, I'm going to probably I'll condense it down into the basics. Even so, this will probably spill into the next video, which is fine. Now I'm going to go into some basic concepts that you can use across all your mixes. There is a lot more out there, so I encourage you to take a look. I will give you resources later, so bear with me on that. But I'll be covering things like compression, equalization, reverb, and maybe setting some levels, although we've already probably set all of our levels we need to now. I just did it as I went and went, oh man, that's too loud, and adjusted that a track as needed. But so I'll go over those in turn, but before we do that, we'll take a listen to Adam Young and see what he's done to see what we're up against, and we will go from there. So, again, we're going up against a professionally mixed and mastered and professionally composed piece. However, that does not mean that we can't take some things away from this. So, I heard a lot of things in this, but I'll go over compression and equalization first, and then I'll do some reverb afterwards. So we'll start out with compression. Well, what is compression? So I'll give you a 101 2 or 3 sentence description. Compression takes a ratio or a threshold that you set, and it reads the audio, and any audio that passes above that threshold, anything that's louder than the threshold, gets squashed down to that threshold. And depending on the strength or the ratio setting you have, that will be stronger or weaker, depending on the threshold you have set, or depending on the threshold that you set. You can adjust how quickly it kicks in, how quickly it kicks out, and you can also, at the end of the day, adjust your makeup gain to make sure you haven't lost too much volume. I know this probably sounds very, very cryptic right now. I think the best way to express how this works would be to hear it, and also if you're stuck and you need more info, I highly recommend the Logic manuals. They explain what a compressor does in detail, and if you don't own Logic 9, the good news is Apple has put their manuals online, so you can actually go to the Apple website, or actually Google Logic 9 manual, and they have a whole bunch of different ones. You're looking for the plugin manual, and they'll explain what compressors do in detail, so you can apply that to whatever digital audio workstation you're working on, or any plugin you'd like to hear. So let's take a listen before and after just to see what this does, and I will commend that to you. So I used this as an effect, more of an effect rather than a sound sculptor. And what I've done is I have squashed the baloney out of this and used a pretty high setting, didn't release it as much, and brought the gain up about as half as I lost. This is an extreme example, and a more real-world situation would probably be better demonstrated in the piano. I'm going to use the compressor on this track to emphasize the sustain of the notes and to really really differentiate between that and the attack to make it sound kind of more punchy and in your face. So here's a before and after demo. You can see what I've done here. You can look at the gain reduction meter, or you can close your eyes and just listen. It's up to you. I've probably compressed this more than it needs to be, but for demonstration purposes, I've left it kind of at a rowdy setting, even for this kind. So there is another example of what you can do with compression. I've done that here because that's what Adam has done up here. If it had been left up to me, I would probably do something a bit different. But anyway, I'll have one more example of compression for you, and that is on the main percussion track. And this is where compression really shines, because there's a lot of transients, or beginnings of the sound, and they're sharp. If you have ever looked at, well, right here, at recordings of drums, you can see the peaks. Here's the kick drum, here's the snare, here's the kick, here's the snare, and you can just pick them out because you can see they're very sharp and quick. And this is where compressors can really be heard. So I'm going to give you a demo before and after, and what I've done with this one is I've increased the punchiness of the drums. That's kind of a term you'll hear in the forum of audio geeks, and I will give you an audio demo of what punchiness sounds in this A/B comparison. So it has more bite, it has more punch, etc., etc. And these are all terms you'll become familiar with as you read through audio forums and tutorials and whatnot. But this is the most gentle setting of all the compressors we've went through so far, and it's brought some punchiness to these drums. That pretty much does it for compression. I'm going to go into a little bit of equalization, and then I will leave you for this video. So the basics of equalization, I found, is to pick a frequency and be good at it. This is really where the art in mixing kicks in. I've used this as kind of a sound sculptor for this track, but equalization can also be used to move instruments out of the way. You can make a cut in a certain frequency range, and then slightly boost another instrument in that same range to make room for a lead instrument, for example. If you have a bunch of horns playing together, you'll want to distinguish between the lead one and the background ones. And you can do that not only by adjusting the volume, but also adjusting which frequencies are allowed to shine through. That being said, I've used this as a very basic thing. Let me see if I can disable this and you can see the analyzer, you'll notice something as I play this. There are a lot of bass frequencies I'm not using, and I don't hear them through my headphones because I don't really have that wide of a frequency response. But I can assure you, if you played this on a 5.1 home theater surround sound system, you would hear some rumbliness in the bass. So we don't really need to hear that. So I have attenuated the bass a lot. And I've also brought the mids up just slightly. So here's before, here's after. So already you can hear it. In addition with the compression, in conjunction with those two plugins, it's really made the piano kind of stand out as opposed to how it was before. And let's see, what else can we do? Let's fiddle with the main percussion. I've turned the analyzer on to show you what we're looking at. Okay, we have a lot of bass energy here, so I'm going to bring that down. That's too much. So we have a lot of high frequencies, and I like those cymbals, so I'm going to bring those out just a bit, attenuate the 20 kilohertz. So you can use equalization like that to tame low frequencies and sculpt the sound you want. And this is really, really an art, but I've used this in a very basic sense. But already you can hear how it sculpts the... Whoop, sorry about that. Already you can hear how it sculpts the sound. So that's about it for equalization. I will leave you with that for this video. In the next one, I will finish up with reverb and give you a bunch of resources you can use to further your musical endeavors. So until then, we will see you soon.